And we start off the show quite on a sad note with a young girl being murdered by a crazy lunatic who wanted her love but couldn't get it. You know, as guys, facing rejection is very, very hard for us. It does, especially the first time. I mean, I remember when I was younger, like, asking a girl out on a date was like some sort of heroic feat, like some sort of like mission of the century, because back then we didn't know what our place was on the pegging order. So to ask the first girl out for us back in those days was to know exactly where we ranked. Up until that point, as young people, where we ranked was in this kind of like misty, cloudy air, because we had no money, we had no jobs, we just had status within the school, right? And then to ask the girl that you liked out, that would tell you where you were. So if you asked the hot girl out and she said no, well, that means you're not attractive enough at that point to get the hot girl. But then if you downgrade and you go down to the girl that you really don't like and she says yes to you, it kind of tells you where you are. And for a lot of guys, that is really hard for us to admit. We all want a Ferrari, right? We all want the best of the best. And to find out where you rank from a woman is very, very difficult. And also, when a woman rejects you, she's telling you, in other words, you are not everything you could be. She's also telling you that you're not good enough to mate with, and that's very difficult. There's no worse insult for a man, for a woman that he likes, to tell him indirectly that she sees no worth in him to carry off his genes into the next generation. It's very, very difficult. That being said, though, we're not lunatic enough to hurt the woman that we like just because she rejected us. However, there's a small percentage of men out there who can't handle their own emotions and take it out on the person who rejects them. I want to let all girls know right now that most men are not like that. Most men want to provide and protect for their woman, regardless if the woman likes them back or not. Most men have the inclination to look after all the women around them. But there is a small percentage of men which have this perverse mindset where they cannot handle their emotions, or they don't even care about their emotions, or they don't have any emotions, and they flip it back right at the woman that they wanted the female validation from. I hate to hear on these news stories, sometimes they blame it down to the patriarchy or ego of the man. And it's nothing to do with that. The ego of the man would actually want to protect the woman and look after the woman. These small percentage of men are rare. However, they do exist and they need to be addressed.
Police in Pakistan have arrested a 22-year-old man that they say has confessed to the murder of a teenage social media influencer, Sana Yousaf. Authorities say that they believe that Umar Hayat murdered Sana at her home in Islamabad on Monday after having his offers of friendship rejected. Well, my colleague Azadeh Mashiri is across this story from Islamabad. And Azadeh, just bring us up to date on this very difficult case.
Well, Sana Yousaf was very well known here in Pakistan. At 17 years old, she had hundreds of followers on Instagram and TikTok. In fact, she was reaching nearly 1 million on TikTok. Now, what police have said is they believe that Umar Hayat had repeatedly tried to meet her and had those attempts rejected by Sana. They say he then allegedly broke into her home in Islamabad on Monday, shot her twice, snatched her phone, and then fled the scene. We spoke to her father today, who was at her burial in Chitral, and he said that she had died at the scene, and therefore it was too late to take her to the hospital. And he described Sana as very brave. He said she'd never described any threatening behavior prior to this taking place, that he'd never even heard of Umar Hayat, and that instead, he said, his daughter was focused on eventually becoming a doctor one day. Now, what police have said is that there has been immense pressure, as they put it, for them to find the person who was responsible for Sana's death, because of the fact not only that she was well known, but as they put it, this was a brutal killing of a teenage girl. And
absolutely tragic to take out your own sadness of being rejected to the point where you have to murder a girl, an underage, pre-adult, teenage girl. That is disgusting. That is filthy. A lot of men might take it out on the woman by maybe swearing at her or calling her a rude name like slut or something like that. Fair enough. A small percentage of men will do that because they just can't handle their emotions. But to actually go to the point where you kill her, absolutely nuts. That's not anything to do with the patriarchy. That's to do with a man that hasn't been raised by his parents. Here we have Ahmed saying rejection crimes are one of the ugliest sides of misogyny and irrational and wicked entitlement to women's bodies and lives. I am from Pakistan and 100 plus police were involved in catching the culprit. It was basically a blind murder and they used technology to arrest him. He had to flee to a different city. They still got him within 20 hours. Thank God for that. Absolutely heartbreaking. But a lot of the times, these irrational feminists want to call this all men. All men are not like this. Shout out to all the women out there that have a great man by them, a great husband, a great father for their children. And they know they're not like this. But a lot of feminists that haven't experienced the true love of a great man think that all men have this type of perversion, but that's not true at all. This is a rare thing for a man to go this far with the brutality of a rejection.
Given, as you say, Azadeh, that she was so well known, there's been a lot of reaction online.
There has been. Her followers online have continued to grow, and there have been floods and outpourings of condolences on her accounts. But as much as there has been outrage at the fact that a young woman, a young girl, was killed in her own home here in the capital city of Islamabad, there has also been some backlash to her work as an influencer. Pakistan is a conservative society, and one of the digital monitors that I spoke to, an expert at one of the NGOs, said that a lot of this toxic discourse, as he put it, was coming from a small group of mostly male online users, and that a lot of this is, in his words, misogynistic, patriarchal content, trying to blame a victim here for her own murder.
Well, I'm sure a lot of those people that do this kind of stuff are incels. And the incels go this far because they've been rejected their whole lives from women, because they have not become as good and as powerful as they could be. They're not living up to their own true potential. And while I'll never blame this influencer for what happened to her, of course not, this is not her fault. This violence is never the fault of the victim, never. I want to make that very clear. However, saying that, we have to understand the risks of going online at such a young age. While most men are not like this, there are a small number of men in this planet that will go this far just because of a rejection. Just because they can't take the humiliation, their own self-contained humiliation of a girl asking them out. Of a girl rejecting them. However, that being said, we have to realize that these guys do exist, and we have to be careful of how we show up on social media and in other places like that. Because these guys are crazy. There's a small percentage of men which are absolutely crazy, and they'll do vile, wicked stuff. Things that I wouldn't wish upon anybody. My heart reaches out to this family in this hard, tragic time. But we have to realize the consequences of going on these apps and these social media networks. Because some men are just truly crazy, and especially in a conservative, in an ultra-conservative country like Pakistan. And I'll say it again, it's not to blame this TikTok influencer, but it's to say that even me as a man, you know, when I'm walking down the road at 3 a.m. in the morning, is it more dangerous then, or is it more safe at midday? Okay? At any time of the day, it's not my fault to get robbed, but I have to realize that some places and some times it's more dangerous for me. And it's the same thing with women on these social media apps. We have to learn to be careful with these apps completely, guys. Authorities say they believe Umar Hayat murdered Miss Yusuf at her home in Islamabad on Monday after she rejected what they called his offers of friendship. He allegedly also repeatedly tried and failed to meet her. The guy couldn't realize he was getting rejected. The guy couldn't take it. They say he broke into her home, fired 2 shots, stole her phone and fled. Ugh. Mrs. Yusuf's father, Saeed Yusuf Hassan, told the BBC she was his only daughter and was very brave. Her family gathered in Chitral, where Miss Yusuf had been buried. The police raided locations across the capital and the province of Punjab and scanned footage from 113 CCTV cameras. And I mean, she looks very conservative. She's not dressed inappropriately at all. I've definitely seen far, far worse. She's dressed very gracefully. And she looks fine to me. Nothing wrong here. There's nothing uncovered. I know how conservative their culture is. And she doesn't seem to be dressing inappropriately at all from what I can see. Very well dressed. Even she's very conservative with the makeup. Very well dressed, very well mannered. And for her to get killed, this is so sad by some crazy lunatic. I am so sad. I'm so sorry about this. The poor girl. The poor girl. She would have had an excellent career going for her. And I was honestly thinking that she would have done maybe something a lot more wrong, quote unquote wrong, on her Instagram page. But really and truly, she's dressed so conservatively. She's well mannered. She walks with grace. I can just tell she's got a lot of grace within her. I can tell she had a lot of grace within her. She looks absolutely fine to me. Nothing. Most men do not want to rape women. Most men do not want to domestically abuse women. Most men don't want to hurt women in this way. Most men just want to protect and provide. However, there are a few that do want to do bad things, and they take it out so badly because they cannot handle their own unusefulness to women. Here is one such example on Reddit Nice Guys, and this is a text message between a woman and a guy that likes her, and she says, "You legit gave me 1 minute to respond before you sent that. During the time when you were typing that I was FaceTiming Ashley for advice on if I should come over because I thought you were cute but didn't want to be a booty call. Damn, I'm so sorry for calling you ugly and privileged. I am just so prone to rejection I could never imagine a girl liking me back. My last girlfriend used to leave me on red for hours at a time and then call me crazy. I know I'm not perfect, not even close. My heart has been ripped to shreds, spit out and stomped on. I think I just need a good, wholesome girl like you to put me back together. So what do you say? Come over? I can give you the notes and we can talk." Heart emoji. "I don't know. I don't think I can be with a guy whose first reaction is to call me ugly. I'm sorry to hear about your ex, and you'll find a girl someday who treat you a lot better. See you in economics." Whatever, fudge you. You are the stupidest question in class. Wouldn't be surprised if you didn't get into college next year. I'm going to Penn State. You'll regret this. I just wanted to get in your pants anyway. Josh said you're super easy once you've had a few shots. Josh also said that your tits are so small that he would have thought you were a 9-year-old boy. And look, that is also obviously not right at all to send those kind of dirty messages to a girl that you like. But for most men, for most men, that's as far as they would go. They wouldn't physically hurt a woman because of rejection, but they just can't take the pain of it. I think we need to do more training of young boys, because young boys aren't really taught how to go through this process unless they've got a real strong father, which a lot of men don't, because a lot of men now are getting raised by single parent families. Unless they've got a strong father which is going to teach them how to go through this motion, a lot of young men are going to go through a lot of pain dealing with those emotions and getting rejected by the girl that they like. Because obviously most guys when they're young, they like the hottest girl, but the truth of the matter is only a few guys will be able to get her, but they don't know that at that age. They think it's an equal playing field, but they're soon going to quickly realize that most men cannot get the hottest women, and that's going to put them into a long depression for most men. So when they finally get to the place where they realize that, hey, I'm not a top tier man, I'm never going to get the woman that I really want, that's going to send them down a spiral. See, most men, they don't marry the girl they actually want. because they can't afford her. They haven't got enough status for her. They haven't got enough resources, status, confidence, the whole package for her. But at the same time, all teenage boys, before they have their first rejection, they all want the hottest girl. No guy goes out there and thinks to myself at 12, 13, 14, 15 thinking, yeah, I'm going to go for the ugliest girl in the room. No. Most guys want the hottest girl that they can possibly find. But it's going to be a big slap on their face when they realize when they're 18, when they ask their first girl to the prom or whatever it might be, they're going to realize, oh my God, I am nothing. I am absolutely worthless. And that is the case. Most guys at 18 or whatever are worthless. It's going to take them 10, 20, 30 years to become that guy where they can get the hottest girl. But you see, the problem is most guys do not put in the work to level up to even get to become that top tier man. Most men are just going to give up on the way. They're not going to try at the game to begin with. And that's going to make them so resentful. So they're going to choose the girl they don't even really like. And then because of that, all types of pain is going to happen, but we won't get to that video right now. But then there's another category of men who are incels who won't be able to get any woman whatsoever. And I believe that the man who did this is an incel, okay? If you're getting girls, even if they're not the girls that you really like, you wouldn't go this far. You have to be so much in a hateful mindset to hate all women, to do something as disgusting and as vile as this. You would have had to be rejected by every single woman who's ever been near you to do something as bad as kill this poor 70-year-old girl from Pakistan. This is an absolutely tragic case. We have to know that it's rare, but however, sometimes the rarities make the biggest impacts on the world, and this is one of those cases. We need to work on how we train young boys to go through these motions, because in high school they talk about sex education, but they don't talk about things like how to manage being rejected, how to manage asking out a girl that you like. No man is out there telling men and young boys that, hey, you're probably never going to get the girl you actually like. No one's telling us in that. Young men had to realize that ourselves, and that put us into depression. A lot of times men go for depression on their own. So I'm not justifying this at all. What I'm saying, as a solution to maybe lower these things happening, lower these cases, is we got to do more training on men, not to do with sex, but how to cope with the dynamics in the mating market. Because as women become more powerful, it's going to be harder and harder for men to attain a woman. Because women are hypergamous, they only date up. As they go up in their own lifestyles, there's far less men to look up to and far more to look down at and reject. So this is going to be a problem which I can only see growing in time. So we have to put the nail in its head right now and make sure that these cases never happen again. My heart goes out to the family of this young girl and everyone in the country as well and her fans. And please take my sincere condolences.